If you knew me before, you wouldn't even look my way. If I had the nerve to speak, you wouldn't hear what I say. Time has come and gone so fast, we're not who we used to be.
Welcome back to Sullivan's Unheard Voices. I'm here with Jeremy. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
One of the things that I always love to talk to people who are musicians is sort of like about their origin story, because I find it fascinating how unique everyone's pathway to music is.
Absolutely.
How did you get started in your journey to being a musician?
Well, I'll tell you, music has always been important to me ever since I was growing up. You know, I used to ride around with my mom going back and forth to school, and she always had music playing, and I would always sing along. And then, you know, my dad was really into a lot of old country bands and some old southern rock, and even a little bit of Neil Diamond even. So
Yeah.
like I grew up listening to Willie Nelson, Merle Haggard, you know, Hank Williams Jr. Johnny Cash is one of my all-time favorites. And like I was telling you just a little while ago, my very first concert at 4 years old, my parents took me to see Willie Nelson.
See, that's awesome.
Yeah, but and then moving forward, I never, you know, I played in the band growing up. I played a trombone in the middle school band, and then in high school I didn't. I skipped out on band and went over to sports, but I've always enjoyed singing. And when I first joined the Navy when I was 22, I had some friends that had a little band, and you know, I got myself a little beater guitar, and I played with them for a few months, just long enough to learn 2 or 3 chords, and then get bored, and then move on because I was more interested in girls and partying and stuff. So, you know, I had a little dabbling with music for a few months, and then I put it up. And then fast forward to when I retired back in 2021, and COVID happened. And so here's where we're getting into the meat of the story. So 2021, I retired from the Navy after 21 years, and that was about 9 years active and 12 years reserve, and that's how I started my civilian career. But the music started as a result of COVID happened. We all got stuck at home, and I got laid off. And I had gotten laid off, and I'd had this guitar that I bought a couple of years previous, and it was just hanging on the wall there. And I was like, you know what? Now's as good a time as any to learn to play that thing. And at the same time, I'd been going back and forth and trying to find things to do during COVID. And we had the Honky Tonk Bar and Grill over there off McGilchrist.
Yeah.
And they were one of the ones that was decided to stay open during the whole thing. And they moved all of their business from inside to out the back with the tents. And, you know, they had some karaoke going on there. And I was always big about going and watching live music and stuff. And I was there on a karaoke night, and a few people, Jeff Poge, Sean that was there, Sean Doherty, and then my friend Jordan were like, hey, you should really like try this karaoke thing out. So, you know, I was sweating bullets, red from head to toe, and I'm like, well, screw it, let's go ahead and give it a try. And I sang one song. I was like, well, this isn't too bad. Sang the second one, and I was hooked from that point forward. And that's really what got me kind of the bug, was performing live and singing in front of a crowd and then having people cheering and clapping. And for me, I was like, ooh, I like this. Like, you know, I get to go out there, sing, and then get that kind of response. And that was really kind of what got me started. It's not what made me stay, but that's what got me started.
No, and I appreciate that. Do you remember the kind of guitar it was?
The first guitar that I ever played,
Yeah.
like back in when I was in the Navy, honestly, it was kind of a cheap one. I originally, I think I bought like a little, it must have been like a Fender Squier or something like that. And then I remember I had a little Cort, C-O-R-T was the brand.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like a Japanese knockoff guitar. And I had that, and then it got stolen. And that was part of the reason that I just never really I never got beyond 3 chords. I basically learned 3 chords, and that was it. So.
And then you had the opportunity to learn more and pick up more
Oh
after
yeah.
you got back.
Oh yeah. Now I'm
Yeah.
obsessed, and I've been playing nonstop since 2021, and I'm still playing 3-4 hours a day every day.
So when you got started and you were sort of on stage and all that stuff, was it originally like sort of cover songs?
Yeah, I definitely started off as far as when I got my band, which my band started off as just me, and then I got several stories to tell here, but funny thing is I started playing some open mics, and what I did was I started playing open mics down at the it used to be the Brew Coffee and Tap House in West Salem.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's the Rabbit Cellar, which I still love that place. And Mitch and Kathy, I've been going down there for some open mics and playing some cover songs, clearly. And I played a few originals that I'd started writing, just barely started writing, and got a good response there. And then Mitch and Kathy actually gave me my very first paying gig. I played for like 2 hours for $50 and put out a tip bucket, and that was a lot of fun. But that there was a lot of lead up time before I actually got to the point of playing a show. So
Yeah.
yeah, but that was awesome.
But and so in terms of like, so you pick up the guitar, you're starting to learn again,
Yeah.
and sort of progressing, and you're becoming obsessed.
Hmm.
Do you remember a point where you're like, I'm getting pretty good at this?
Yeah, there's been several points where I've been like, oh, I'm not a bad player, but like probably really about a year ago, I started feeling like, okay, I'm getting pretty proficient, and I got rid of my pick. Now I still play with a pick sometimes because I'm working hard on my flat picking right now for more bluegrass style guitar.
Yeah.
But once I dropped that pick, I took a few lessons back in 2021, 2022, and I went in. I'll tell this story. So I was obsessed with Coulter Wall, sleeping on the blacktop.
Yeah.
And so, I did similar thing when I was back in my 20s, but I walked into the guitar instructor. And I'm like, I want to learn how to play like this, figure style, playing this really twangy stuff. And I'm sorry, my ADHD is kicking in here, but you're asking,
Like when you started to realize that you were pretty good.
oh yeah. So I just posted a video the other day. I was like, you know what? This is a song that I said I wanted to learn and almost made me quit guitar. And I can play that song no problem now. It's like it's second nature. And it's just amazing to me to go from playing just a few open chords. And then within the last year, I've really kind of broken through to where I can play up and down the entire fretboard. And I've opened up into like just being able to do so much more. And I'm just barely scratching the surface at this point. Like I can see so much more ahead of me, but it's starting to be clear. Like you're driving down the road and the fog starts to clear.
Yeah.
Sun comes out and I'm starting to have all this stuff. So it makes it even that much more fun as you're getting into it. Like the better you get, the more you want to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. Like the better I get at this podcast, the more I want to do these interviews.
Yeah, of course.
It's
yeah.
just so much fun. You get to talk to so many really cool people that you never thought even possible.
Yeah, for sure.
One of the things that I love about music too is when you have that ability to make your own music.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things.
And one of the things I ask every musician across the board is about the muse.
Yeah.
Because I do believe that the muse is a living and breathing thing.
Yep.
And I'm just curious, like, how does the muse visit you, and what do you do to capture that?
Well, it's interesting. So, probably around 2019 in 2019, 2020, somewhere in there, I had gone to the VAA, and like I had a couple of run-ins where I had to go to the emergency room, and I checked myself in the emergency room because I was having like really bad anxiety, depression, and like bad thoughts of potentially harming myself. And so I checked myself in, and that led to me ultimately going to counseling and getting on a few antidepressants, which I really didn't like, and those were short lived. But what happened there was I started going to therapy, and so that therapy was a combination of both like talk therapy, medication, and then my therapist had me doing a lot of affirmations, and then she had me start journaling. And so when I started songwriting in 2021, I already had this journaling thing going on. And what I quickly realized was, hey, I'm going to talk therapy, I'm journaling, I'm getting all this stuff out, and it's not really that big of a step for me to go from dumping out all the stuff that's in my head, all these issues and things that I'm thinking about, and putting that into a song because it's real stuff, it's lived, and you put it to music, and I can sing through that stuff, and it's super emotional for me. So that's kind of how things started. So now I like to tell people, like, every time I get on stage, that's a therapy session. That's me working out my issues on stage in front of a live crowd. And
Which is very therapeutic.
it is. It's huge.
Yeah.
And even though, like, I have these two sides, I'm being evaluated for autism right now, but, like, my ADHD side sometimes writes checks that the autistic side don't want to cash.
Guilty.
I mean, so I'm like, yeah, let's book shows, book shows. And then the show day comes and I'm like, I don't know if I really want to do this, but I'm already booked. So I spend the whole day working myself up to it, because it's always a thing. But every time we step on stage and we play that first note and start singing that first lyric, it's like everything else just goes away. And it's just it's a pure therapy session for me. And I love getting up there. And I love it when the crowd is really listening and paying attention. And then when I see somebody in the crowd during one of the more emotional songs, like, start getting tears, like that for me as a musician is amazing, because that's connecting one-on-one direct, through a song.
And I think I do want to acknowledge something real quick, because it's one of those things that nobody talks about, but it needs to be addressed. Because as a veteran myself, I was in a very similar situation that you're just talking to. Mm-hmm. And just how important it is for people to recognize the importance of therapy and mental health.
Oh, yeah.
Especially for soldiers returning or getting away from deployment and, like, getting back into, like, normal swing of civilian life. Just because the transition is so freaking weird.
It really is.
And even to this day, and I've been out for 20 years, and even to this day, I'm always surprised by people in the community, because, like, if we were in the military, like, this would be a totally different conversation right now.
It really would.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, there's a lot of stuff I've had to wait until after the military to even, discuss or consider. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'm with you right there.
And so I'm very happy, very thankful that you had that opportunity to sort of get that help.
Yeah,
because it's very
me too.
important.
Me too. And I'm still with the same therapist since back then, so it's been like 6 years, and we don't have like a regular schedule, but I'll shoot her a message, say, hey,
yeah,
I'd like to get together and run some things by you.
See, and that's so helpful. Like, I still meet with mine every other week, and I probably will until the day I die. But that's more the autism than anything else. But
yeah, I
digress. But back to the music, though, because I think one of the things that I really appreciate from certain musicians is when they have that attachment to real life experience and real life emotion.
Yeah,
it leads to so much more powerful music.
Yeah.
Is this like, so does the muse visit you sometimes, like you're 2:00 in the morning, you get like an idea? And...
Oh yeah, I'm a lot of people see me from the outside and they're like, wow, he's really put together, he's got organized, got all this stuff going on, but what they don't realize is I'm pretty much ADHD, like a complete mess. Like, my filing system is, little scraps of paper with notes jotted everywhere all over my desk, and if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't happen. Yeah, for me, I love, my favorite time is probably from about 8 p.m. until anywhere from 8 p.m. to like midnight, 2 a.m. And when I'm relaxed, maybe having a beer or something, and I'm sitting there just playing, that's when I get into the zone. And that's when a lot of my best lyrics come out, because I'm sitting there, I'm by myself, and I can just let my mind wander, and I just think about random things. And nowadays, with the advent of AI, it allows my curiosity to just go down these rabbit holes. So I'm constantly on there going, hey, tell me more about this. And I'm like, oh, that's a good idea for a song, So I've got all these random thoughts coming through my head, and I've really leaned heavily now into trying to write songs about my internal experience with PTSD, with ADHD, with relationships, hardships, and wins. But I'm really leaning into that and trying to go, how do I let other people see behind the curtain and see what's going on in my head? Because I think that's the most interesting thing that I have to write about. Not, and I like storytelling. Like I do a lot of storytelling songs, but lately I've been really leaning into a style kind of similar to like I listen to a lot of Sturgill Simpson. I listen to a lot of the Red Clay Strays and Tyler Childers and a lot of that kind of old school kind of roots type of sounds. And like the Red Clay Strays, they've been writing a lot recently and putting out a lot of songs that are kind of I'm really vibing with. So I've been kind of writing around my own style, but with some similar subject matter.
And I can appreciate that a lot because like the songs that I have the most emotional connection with are songs that are not only about these kind of subjects, but they're subjects that I can relate to as
Yeah,
well.
yep.
And you can tell, I don't know about you, but I can tell when you're listening to a song and you know that there's no actual connection with the artist.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like, this seems kind of fake.
Yeah, a lot of that mainstream stuff
Yeah.
where you've got songwriters that are shopping their songs out to these, popular vocalists, and some of them are great artists on their own, and some of them write their own songs. But there's quite a few mainstream artists that don't really write much of their own stuff at all. They just have great vocals and great performance on stage, but there's a lack of connection there sometimes. Yeah, I feel you.
And it takes away from the music a little bit, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And if you've heard of any of the AI tracks coming out recently, you can definitely pick out there's something missing. There's a human element missing here when you have somebody put in a prompt on a song and it spits out a completely fully overproduced song. I feel like a lot of that stuff's overproduced, but it is what it is. We're in an interesting time right now.
Yeah, because it's like, in a way, it's kind of hard to explain other than like, and I'm sure everybody listening already has heard me say this like a million times. Like most musicians aren't in this for the money.
No, no, no.
Like this is a passion project pure and through because like you're only making what 150 $200 a gig at the most as an artist.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Depends on what kind of venue you're going to, but you're definitely in order to make any real money at this, you got to play the long game.
long game.
I've only been into it for about 4 years, and everybody says this is a 5, 10, 15 year deal, and I get that. And we've made a lot of moves, but like I understand, it's if I was here for the money, I put way more money into this than I've gotten out of it.
I feel you on
I've
that
invested tons of money in courses, gear. I mean, gear. Holy cow!
one. I can relate.
Yeah.
This is my third iteration of
Oh, I believe you.
the mixer, the fourth iteration of the microphones.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's just like ugh, because like I wish there was a better pathway for people who are aspiring musicians to find out like what the best thing is. But there's a trick to it because it's also the best thing for you and your style and your makeup. So it's not that simple.
Well, here's what I can tell you is the barrier to entry in the music industry has never been easier than it is now. But it's completely changed.
Yeah.
So, even back to probably like 2010, maybe 15, there was still the chance to like, get discovered and an A&R rep could come and get you and, put a team around you, build you into some kind of crazy act. But that's done. That's out. These days, if you want to make a music career, you are going to do it by grinding, recording your own music, building your own social media platform, getting your own website, booking your own gigs, making your own merch, and getting all that. And you must be able to do this as a business on your own before you'll ever get the look of a label or anybody like that. And then if you've learned how to do it on your own, why would you want to go with the label when So it's kind of where we're at now, getting ready to record a second album. And I've got enough experience now to be able to talk about it a little bit, but it's not an easy industry, and it definitely would be nice to make it easier for people to get in, but there's also a little bit of a rite of passage that you got to go through.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like nothing prepares you for the road like the
No.
road.
Nope. That's a fact.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is a fact.
Yeah. And and I would imagine that because I talk to a lot of musicians these days, you never know what the venue is going to look like until you get there.
Yep.
Or you've been there before.
Yep. And I mean that's part of it. I mean we've driven 6 hours and not seen the venue, and we're walking in with our own equipment going, okay, well, I guess this will work. Sometimes, sometimes we're on a big stage. On occasion, we're playing some little, hole-in-the-wall dive bars, and we have a corner on the concrete somewhere to set up everything, and, those are a lot of fun. I love having a really, close, intimate crowd that's actually there to listen to music. I do hate being background music, but sometimes we get those gigs. But I try to stay away from those as much as possible. So,
and it's a different vibe all the way around. Like I've seen both. Like, and it, I don't want to say it frustrates me, but it does in a way.
Yeah.
When people are at a venue like that, even if you're there hired as background music, and they don't stop talking, and they don't sort of like, I get it. At the same time, like, come on.
Yeah, it is what it is. Like,
Come on.
and there's a reason. Like, I pretty much determined that I am not playing any 4-hour bar gigs from this point forward. We've made enough of a splash, and we've got enough people that are interested in what we're doing that there's no reason for us to go and beat ourselves up for 4 hours a night for a bunch of crazy rowdies that have no desire to know who I am, what my music is. They just want me to play a bunch of covers that they know. And, that's not why I got into this. So I love playing covers, and I love playing the covers that I like, but I'm not going to play Wagon Wheel 6 times a night. Or free, like there's some of those songs that everybody wants to hear, and it's like, come on, guys.
At the same time, though, it's like, okay, if you want to hear that music, go to a cover band.
Well, yeah, of course. And
You know what I
I
mean?
know some great
Like,
cover bands.
so do I.
Amazing cover bands.
Like, there's a few tribute bands just here in the Portland that just, like, knock the socks off of most plans that I know.
Heck yeah.
But if you're wanting to hear Freebird 17 times, go to the freaking tribute band.
Yeah, for sure.
Instead of yell at the house band that's there to, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's just,
yeah.
it comes back to being kind and being respectful for the musicians that are doing the hard work on the stage.
Yep, for sure. And I've had more recently been doing a lot of work. Earlier this year, ran a crowdfunding campaign after I signed basically a distribution deal to work with Edgewater Music Group out of Texas, and we're going to record a second album. And I've been a big proponent in my music, and definitely once I started getting into the chamber and getting involved with some different veterans organizations, and so trying to raise awareness for PTSD and mental health issues, especially for veterans and first responders. And so like this album is kind of a passion project in a way, because a lot of the music that I've been writing now, which is geared more toward mental health, not specifically like calling out mental health in my songs, but writing songs around my internal experience and different veterans issues, like some story songs about, what happens when people go away and go to war and come back and sometimes don't come back, and a lot of that. And that's, for me, been super rewarding, and that's what's going to keep me in this long term is having that platform where I'm trying to help others and really, really do that side of things. It's not just about trying to make some money. It's about trying to make some things happen for some folks. Like I said, I'm dealing with some of the issues of my own. And I don't know if fighting the VA is the right word, but definitely going down this rabbit hole with the bureaucracy and all the red tape that happens there. So,
and we were kind of talking about before air too,
Yeah.
because like it shouldn't be a fight, but
No.
boy is it a fight.
yeah.
Like this whole balance of, because I'm service connected at 80,
Yeah.
And so I'm on that fine line.
Same. We're right there. Yeah.
So you're in that fine line of where you get a decent amount of compensation for your time served, and it helps quite a bit in terms of the financial piece, but we're not disabled enough to qualify for the full slew of benefits.
Yeah.
And so it's like, come on, people. Like, I get it. I get it. At the same time, it's not the VA's fault. It's the government's fault for not financing the VA to the full capacity so that no veteran has to go without health care.
Yeah, I mean that's a big issue for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have to commend the VA for as far as they have come in terms of mental health too.
Yeah.
Because when I first went down the pathway of needing mental health support, this would have been in 2007, 2008 timeframe.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything back then. I mean, anything. And so to come there full circle today and have the VA has mental health as a priority, we now have 988. We now have, like, you call the crisis line, say you're a veteran, you get to the front of the line, as it should be. And so I have to commend the VA for as far as they've come, but they've got a long way to go.
Yeah. And I got, like I said, I have some people that I served with that work at the VA now, and when I'm having a bad day, they'll be like, "Is everything okay?" And I'm like, "Well, honestly, I really appreciate it sometimes if somebody at the VA, I don't know who, I don't know how many people need to get involved, could like sort some of these things out that we're dealing with out here, because I could understand it taking a few months, but some of these claims are going out
Years.
forever."
Yeah.
I'm still working on a claim that's from, I think, 2019.
See, I haven't even bothered.
And
Everybody tells me to reopen the claim, but I'm like, I'm not.
Well, yeah. Well, let me be very clear. My claim in 2019 was denied, and then I got more information recently, which caused me to request them to reopen that claim and take another look, because now I have all the documentation and all the proof. So we're going down that hole again. So I don't want to seem like they didn't do anything for 5 years. They didn't have anything to work off for 5 years, but I'm still working on that claim. So, but now it's probably been at least 6 months now, and we're still rolling.
Still rolling along.
Yeah. Anyway.
But I do want to acknowledge something, though, right? And so for those of you who are listening who might still be in the service, my biggest piece of advice is to go to the doctor when you're not feeling right, even if it's just a minor little sprain. Just go to the doctor and get that crap documented.
Yeah, if it didn't get documented, it never
doesn't
happened.
exist.
Never happened.
That was the biggest setback for me too. Was trying to find records from Germany in 2002. Good luck with that.
Oh, yeah. I have a few other friends that are dealing with a lot as well still. So. Yeah.
But so get back to the music though.
Sure.
Because I really appreciate that sort of connection piece and sort of that focus that you're talking about. Are you going to be recording that album here locally, or are you heading to Texas to record it?
I've been back and forth with the director and I'm sorry, not director, producer. I've been back and forth with producer. I am planning to fly down to Texas when we're ready to record the vocals for the album. In the meantime, will be kind of a lot of back and forth phone calls, emails, and then as far as session musicians, I have a couple musicians in my band that may be playing some parts there. But this album, where this album is going to differ from my last album, we worked with a recording engineer / producer out of Portland named Thomas Hazarian, and we went up and recorded that album at the Jackpot Studio up there in Portland, which claim to fame, they had REM record there before. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But that was kind of a DIY project in a lot of respects. I found Thomas via Craigslist, and he's worked on some big projects, and he's done quite a few albums, and I really liked the sound of his stuff, and it really fit our vibe. So we recorded that just as a 3-piece band. I played guitar, I played some dobro on there. My fiddle player Justin Thorpe, he played fiddle, he played viola, he played mandolin, and then my bass player played mostly bass and a few like percussion instruments, and then we kind of put it all together. So that was awesome experience. With this album, I'm hopeful that maybe those guys can pull together some parts to put on the album. But this one's not just going to be all bluegrass instruments. I'm pulling in some electric guitar, some
That's awesome.
drums, probably some slide guitar, and I'm kind of working with the producer to add more elements because I want this one to be kind of our vibe, so which is kind of bluegrass instrumentation with kind of a bluesy southern rock kind of a feel. And then leaning that even further, kind of getting a little bit more experimental between the acoustic instruments and pulling in some of the electric and stuff like that. And so it'll be more interesting soundscapes. Also, the songs I was writing a few years ago, the melodies aren't nearly as interesting as the melody lines that I'm writing now. So I feel like this next album is going to be like, Jeremy 2.0.
Yeah.
And this is a solo album. The first album was a collaboration with my band as far as everything. This one I'm working with this producer, and I did all of the crowdfunding on my own with the station. And nothing wrong with my bandmates, but they weren't as comfortable about going out and crowdfunding as I was. So this is going to be a solo project, but I am not changing up my band. We may be adding players in the future based on needs so that we can reproduce that music in a live environment. So
Well, if you ever need an amazing bluegrass musician in Tennessee,
yeah,
I have the name.
okay,
Yeah. Jade Thornberry.
nice.
I interviewed her a few months back.
Awesome.
Phenomenal steel guitar, fiddler, just everything bluegrass.
Well, my dream would be to have a band of all multi-instrumentalists so
Yeah.
that we could all just I'll play the guitar in this one and like
That
swap
would
out.
be awesome.
And we've already got a little bit of that going on. Like we were doing rehearsal 2 nights ago.
Yeah.
Like 2 nights ago, I think it was. Actually, it was Friday night. So Friday night doing rehearsal, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna do some of these fiddle tunes, and then we're gonna do the banjo tunes." So I play guitar, I play dobro, I play a little bit of keys, which we haven't done with the band. I can play a little harmonica, and then I picked up the banjo last year, and so I've got a few tunes that we've added into our live show where I'm playing banjo. My fiddle player picks up the guitar instead of the fiddle, so he's playing guitar and singing vocals on some of these old school tunes, and then I do the harmony vocals and I'm playing banjo. So we're kind of giving some different sounds, some different vocalists, and I have plans to hopefully at some point in the near future bring on a female vocalist so we can do some more interesting harmonies and some
Yeah.
duets. I have some ideas for some duets that I've kind of written some songs that I think that would lend themselves. So yeah,
I look forward to hearing that. That's going to be exciting.
yeah, I'm my favorite artist right now. So I love Sturgill Simpson. You know what
Yeah.
I love about Sturgill Simpson? He's so experimental. He put out two bluegrass albums, right? The Cutting Grass Volumes 1 and 2. Then he put out, what was it? Meta Modern Sounds and Country Music, which was like this total psychedelic kind of a vibe, like on some of the songs. And then he put out, what is it? The Ballad of Dude and Juanita, which is another two disc album. And then he put out Sound and Fury. And I love all of them so much. And they're all so different. And what I love about him, what I love about Red Clay and some others is like they're not being tied down to a specific genre. They're playing music and building music they like. And because of that, I'm like, well, this is how I'm going to model my career. I'm not going to limit myself to. I'm definitely going to go in a lane. Like I have a sound that I'm going for. But if it's acoustic instrumentation, great. If we're adding in some steel and some electric and some different ethereal sounds, like it's awesome. Like my fiddle player now, we'll do a cover of Turtles All the Way Down by Sturgill, and when we get to the bridge part, he does this really crazy little super fast vibrato on his fiddle, and it sounds like you're in like the Twilight Zone, and it's like it's perfect for the song.
Do you have a recording of that?
I do. It'll take me a minute to find it.
If you can send me that,
Oh,
I'd
well.
be happy to chain that at the end of this interview.
Okay.
Because I think people would be fascinated to hear that
yeah,
song.
it would just be like a little clipper where we go into like
Yeah.
into that part because he does this little fiddle part, and I'm like, we're keeping that. I'm like, can you do anything to this part? Because when I listen to the album recording of Sturgill, they get some kind of sounds during that part, and when Justin, my fiddle player, came up with that sound, I was like, oh my gosh, that is freaking perfect.
I love that.
It's perfect. And we love that song because it's like this total country psychedelic song. Like even Sturgill's like, this one's all about drugs.
Yeah.
The entire song from start to finish, it's basically it's like he's on a drug trip. He's like on a trip and talking about his experience, So I find that very cool and out there, especially for what's considered a country song. That he took it that direction. So he's one of my heroes, my current heroes in the music industry. So.
I'm a huge fan of Maynard James Keenan for the same reason.
Okay. Yeah.
Because he's got Tool that everybody recognizes,
right,
that
and I
hard
love
rock.
Tool. Yeah.
But then he's got Pussifer and A Perfect Circle, which are two
Yeah.
totally different vibes.
Exactly.
That is just, but like, such a genius musically. But anyone else were to try to put an album like that last Pussifer album out, and they'd be like, no.
Yeah. Well, and that's
No.
like Sturgill just put out this album that's called. I don't remember what it's called, but he came out under he said he'd never do another album under his name.
Yeah.
And he stayed true. And so now Johnny Blue Skies is his moniker that he put out the new album. So it's Johnny Blue Skies and it's Passage du Dessert. It's like this. But that album, the first time I listened to it, I was like, I'm not sure if I like this or not. And the second time I listened to it, I was like, oh no, I'm in love. I love this album.
Yeah.
Because the first time I listened to it, I was like, I'm not sure where to classify this one because he's got so many different sounds on there, and it's not like it's a country album. It's not a rock album. It's really hard to classify, and I think it's one of his best. So,
And those are my favorite when I find those gems.
yeah,
Where like the musicians that are just kind of like not strategically like right in the mold. They're just slightly different.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
and like I listen a lot. I listen a lot of Tyler Childers. I like his first albums better than some of the stuff he's releasing now, but I still like the stuff he's coming out with now. But like Purgatory was my introduction to Tyler Childers.
Yeah.
That album, and I think that album. There's a reason it went to #1 when it did. I mean, that's an amazing album. Also produced by Sturgill Simpson, I believe, and yeah, that one. And then, like I said, I've been really so much into the Red Clay Strays recently, and like when I listen to their music, it's like instant nostalgia.
Yeah.
You put on an album, you're like, this is a new band? It sounds like they just transported from like the 70s and 80s. They've got that blend of soul, rockabilly, some of that southern rock coming in. And then Brandon, their lead singer, oh my God, his vocals are just amazing, which I've fallen completely in love. I've already learned a bunch of their covers now, so.
I feel that way about the Nikki Jones band here
Yeah,
locally.
yeah.
She has that sort of old blues voice
Yeah.
you just don't hear anymore. And it's like, oh, that's off the chain. And then Brandon Logan, who's the lead guitarist, he has that ability to cut through multiple genres. Like I've heard him do a rendition of Jimi Hendrix that is just out of this world. And then switch directly over to blues and play that like it's out of this world. It's like, how?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
So in terms of like, so you're going to record this new album. What is the process to get it from like recording into people's hands?
Well,
Because the day of the CD is kind of gone,
yeah,
right?
it is and it isn't. CDs are like CDs and vinyls are definitely collector's items now. So
Okay.
when I sell a CD, like some people listen to them. I actually got told by somebody this last week that they've got our disc in their car and they're listening to it all the time. And I'm like, that's awesome because I don't get enough of that kind of feedback.
Yeah.
But this new album, we have distribution. I should say Edgewater has a distribution deal lined up with The Orchard, which is a division of Sony Music Entertainment. So we will have major label distribution for this new album. Part of the good
Sweet.
thing about that is you know, when you start talking about streaming platforms like Spotify and Apple Music and all those, when you have your distribution through Sony, Sony has a seat at the table. So there's opportunity for better playlisting as far as like editorial playlists. Also, if we record a full album, which is my plan, that's my intent, then there's a there's opportunity for some physical distribution. So
Okay.
in stores. So in my perfect world, I'd probably want some physical distribution in like some mom and pop type record shops. I'm not so sure if I want to be on the Walmart shelves. I think that's a little out of reality, and that's not really my crowd. Not people that go to Walmart, but people who shop for their music at Walmart. Probably not going to be there. But other than that, a lot of selling. I sell CDs and merch at our shows, and then we have a website, and we also have all the music available for download online. So I mean, a lot of people are streaming their music these days. So you know, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple, Amazon. There's something like 250 platforms that our music
Yeah.
is distributed. This last album, I used DistroKid, so I did all my own distribution that way, and the music's out there now. As you know, they don't. Spotify doesn't do much to push the music, so it's all algorithm driven. And what people don't tell you is having your music be good is not enough to get
No.
listened to. If
Yeah.
you're not going to put any marketing time, if you're not going to spend time on social media, and you're not going to go, you know, hand out flyers or go approach people, you're not going to get your music listened to. I mean, the chances of going viral on TikTok or something, yeah, it's there, but for the average Joe, it's not that realistic. Even if you're the greatest singer, greatest performer in the world, getting somebody to listen to your original song is a tough one. And getting them to stop scrolling to listen to your song when they're on there for other reasons is extremely difficult. So,
Yeah. And it's interesting because it's kind of very similar to the podcast realm.
mm-hmm.
Like, in order for me to be successful as a podcast, I have to invest like anywhere from $500 to $1,000 a month in Spotify ads
Yeah.
before they'll start pushing your stuff out.
Yeah.
And so it's this weird, strange sort of relationship where they're like, yeah, you can record your podcast here for free, and we require you have exclusive rights for a certain period of time,
Mm-hmm.
but we are not going to push your podcast until you make a certain amount of money invested to us. And then, of course, it's the same with all the other platforms too, YouTube and Rumble and all that other stuff. And so it's like hard
Yeah.
because unless you're paying that agent, if you will, they don't
Yeah.
care about you.
Yeah, and I mean, what I've learned about marketing is if you can do some videos, do some ads, do some things, and actually maybe that wasn't quite correct saying ads, but like creating these different pieces of content. If you find one that's doing well organically, that's
Yeah.
probably your winner. And if that's the one you want to put some ad money behind to push that one because you're already getting some organic reach. But that all that being said, you know, I shot some music videos and I chopped them up into some little 30 and 40-second ads, and I ran those on Facebook, Meta, for a while. And that really, it wasn't the cheapest, but it wasn't the most expensive. And that was actually getting me quite a bit of reach as far as getting new eyeballs on my music, getting me new followers for my music, and then getting people to actually go and start streaming my songs. And like my first single, Honky Tonk Bound, which I released back in 2022, you know, I ran a little ad behind that, and it's got almost 70,000 streams, which isn't that much really when you start talking about the big, you know, big artists. But for like a small independent artist to, you know,
Yeah.
get your first 10,000 streams or 25,000, 50,000, like it's a big deal, you know, because it's like people actually like this music. And when I was running that ad, I had tons of people respond to that ad going, "Hey, this song kicks ass. We love this song. Make more like this." And like that wasn't my intention to make it a whole album because it was kind of like a 90s country vibe. But this was me just getting my toes wet and kind of starting to figure things out. The music I'm making now, I'm much more proud of,
Yeah.
but I haven't put that kind of ad money behind it. So the streams have not been anywhere close to catching up. But I'm diversifying, and I'm putting efforts into a lot of different things right now. I'm saving money because I might have to spend some money promoting this new album when it comes out. And yeah, there's so much going on all the time.
And one of the things I always love to talk to musicians too is about like their live journey or their live performances.
Sure.
Because a lot of people don't understand, especially if they're not like in music, just how much effort it takes to get from picking up an instrument to stage ready.
Oh, I got some good stories around that.
Yeah, please.
So I picked up, like I said, I started playing guitar again. And I caveat that with, I picked that up for a couple months, but that was 20-year gap between that and now. So it was like starting over from scratch. So I picked up the guitar again, and I started learning. And I knew I was okay, not the greatest. But, I started to get some confidence. I'm like, oh gosh, I went from I can play guitar or I can sing to I finally broke through a couple songs where I could play and I could accompany myself while singing, which for anybody who's starting, that's one of the biggest first plateaus that you'll get past is when you can play while singing. Like your playing is now at a point where it can be somewhat on autopilot, so you can focus on singing the right lyrics and singing them well. So, but I remember it was probably maybe about 4 or 5 months into my guitar journey, I decided like I'd like to move fast. So I was like, I'm going to put together a band. And I looked on Craigslist, and there was a guy that was on there, and he was trying to put together like a 2 or 3 piece and he already had gigs booked. So I was like, awesome, he's a country guy. And so I contacted him, and he said, yeah, like come over on Wednesday night or whatever, and we'll play through a few songs and see how it goes. So I went over and I met him at his place. They brought me in, and we sat down, and he grabbed my guitar, and he grabbed his guitar. He's like, "Oh, play me something." And I started trying to play something, and he's like, "Okay, like, what else you got?" And then I watched him play, and I was like, "Oh man, I'm out of my depth here." And we spent about maybe half an hour, and within a half an hour, he was starting to like basically teach me and give me lessons. And he told me, he's like, look, you're just not there. He's like, you got a ways to go. And so I knew it. I knew it pretty much right away. And I got in my car, and I was a little butthurt, not at him, really at myself. I was kind of like, gosh, what an idiot. But I took that, and I went home, and that's when I became ultra obsessed. And I started playing anywhere from 4, 5, 6 hours a day. And I was just really so focused on learning. And what made me feel really good was after that, I went to an open mic, and I went answered some more Craigslist ads. And this is how I met my bass player, Paul. And we met down at the Brew Coffee and Tap House. And we got there early, and I played a couple songs, and he played a couple songs, and then we got together outside, and he's like, hey, do you want to jam a little bit? So we got it together and started jamming. I was like, hey, this is kind of cool. And he's like, yeah, this is cool. Like, I was like, well, you want to get together and play, some more? So we started getting together and playing. And then I had been writing some songs, and I asked him if he wanted to work on some new songs with me. So that was how we started my band. And
how'd you come up with the name?
I sat around for weeks and just wrote down all random names, and some of them I didn't like, some of them I didn't. And Whiskey Bound just kept popping up, and I'm like, I really like that one. And so I floated 3 or 4 names by my bandmates, and they all liked that one too. So we stuck with it. And the only reason I don't just go by Whiskey Bound is because I still have aspirations of doing a music career out of this, and it's really hard with like a first band to know that band's gonna stick and it's gonna work out long term. And so yeah.
And you always have your name.
Yeah, and I'll always have my name.
Yeah.
So I did that album, which is self-titled Whiskey Bound, the first one. And but our band name is officially Jeremy Wayne Mckern and Whiskey Bound, but that first album's called Whiskey Bound. It's also the name of one of my songs, one of the tracks on the album. So that also
And
was helpful.
what's the meaning behind that song?
That song is a breakup song of sorts. So that song is all about I don't want to say loving them and leaving them, but when I wrote that song, well, I wasn't in this point in my life when I wrote the song, but I was thinking back to there was a time when I got divorced and my attitude towards dating and stuff was just not very good. And I had a few girlfriends over time, and they just wouldn't stick because I just couldn't get myself past the idea of being in another long-term relationship. So, it's that song, Whiskey Bound. It's about, I love her, but she's getting too close to me. So this is more of that internal struggle. So I'm going to push her away, and I'm going to go drown my sorrows in some
Yeah.
whiskey because I'm at this point in my life where I want love and I want that, but I also don't feel like I can have it. And so that's where that song came from. And when you listen to the lyrics, like it's an upbeat, it's a fun kind of a rockabilly song. But like my, what is it? Had she called to say she loved me, but these these boots ain't slowing down, and all this stuff. And what was another lyric in there? Oh, it'll come to me in a second. I don't know why. When I'm trying to think of it, it's hard. But
It's the ADHD, man. It gets me every time too.
it really is. It sucks. It sucks so bad because
I
I'm
was
sitting here. I'm like, it's like I can remember the last part because it goes, yeah. She called to say me she loved me, but these boots ain't slowing down. And then there's a lyric in there about loving them and leaving them. There's a lyric in there about had to go. Yeah, now I'm gone because it's like that anxiety of like not wanting somebody to engulf you.
Yeah.
And so I hope people don't take the wrong idea from that song because it's kind of it's a bit of a mental health type of a song when you read the lyrics and you listen to it. But yeah,
I feel your pain though. I just did an interview that just aired today with Al Meyer where he straight up asked me point blank, "What's my favorite album?"
yeah,
And I blanked.
it is. It's hard, and you know what the people don't understand is when you're asked something like that, the harder you try to think on it, the more elusive it is. It's gone.
Into the ether.
Gone.
And then 2 days later,
Like right now, if I had my guitar and I started playing it, the lyrics would be there. But trying to think and just tell you the lyrics off the top of my head, it's like, where are they?
oh, I always struggle with that too. I know like a lot of musicians too as well. Like if I have the music behind me, I will remember the words. But just trying to recall the words without hearing the music
Yeah.
is impossible for
Well,
me.
now I can think of it when I hear it in my head. So it's been a long, hard drive, but the road still stretches on, like the memories traveling highways in my mind. That's when I think of her. Had to go. Yeah, now I'm gone. And the warm brown and the whiskey's always anyway. That's
Yeah.
pretty much it. It's kind of like
Well, I like that though.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love writing, and I wrote that song a couple years ago. But I'm doing a lot of writing. I've got probably another 30 songs to record, so we're trying to figure out the 8 that are going on the album, and then I'm going to take the rest of that music. I'll be doing some recording at home, and there's a few producers and some different studios that I'm looking to try out to see which producers I liked working with best.
I like that approach.
Yeah, so I'm going to be experimenting a little bit with a few different studios and some different people.
And so like when you're experimenting with like these new music and these sort of like new genre and these new sort of like sounds, can you like visualize and hear them in your head before they come to fruition?
Yeah. In fact, that's really what being a producer is.
Yeah.
Taking like a scratch track, you take like a scratch guitar, piano, those are probably the two of the most common, like guitar, piano, maybe ukulele, I don't know, but two of the more common singer-songwriter type instruments. And you take that, just a stripped down guitar, stripped down piano, and a vocal. Record that, and then listen to it a few times. And then as a producer, you're starting to go, gosh, I really hear, I hear violin here. I hear steel guitar here. And so being a producer is also an art unto itself. So that's where you start to take this basic thing and start bringing in all the elements. And then you might even work with the songwriter to go, hey, you know what? We could really we could really kind of restructure this a little bit. I love your melody, but maybe if we put like a break right here where you just trail off and then we pick it up here, like all those little things, your dynamics, those all play into it. So being a producer, like you can go overboard. You can bring too many sounds. You can bring too many tracks, and you can do too much. But like like the sounds that I'm usually looking for. One, I want to be able to reproduce it live because for me, playing live is therapy. I love playing live. I love playing in front of an audience. I love vibing back and forth with the crowd, and so I don't want anything that's overproduced. I don't want to put 50 vocal tracks on my main vocal. And if I do, then I want to be able to produce that when we're playing live. So, it's a little bit of a tightrope to walk there. But one of my biggest, most favorite things is like back in 2024, I went and played. I call it a mini tour, but I played 5 shows in 7 days down through. Like between San Antonio and all the way down to like Uvalde, Texas. Yeah. And I went and saw I had some people come out and see me play for the first time that had been connecting with me all over Facebook and some online platforms. So they'd heard me play live on a live stream and they'd heard my album music. And when they came down and saw me live, I had some, they're like, wow, you sound the same live as you do on your recordings. And that is so important to me. It's so important to me. Like, I don't auto-tune, all that stuff. Like, those are all tools, and they're all tools that you use in the studio. I mean, let's get realistic. Anybody who says they don't have any auto-tune on their albums probably lying, because there's always the producers are going to spend a little bit of time fine-tuning the vocals. They're going to be close, but they'll fine-tune them. The thing is, afterwards, like for me, I end up practicing against my recorded vocals, and you can really get so close when you're practicing against your recording. So you take your studio recording, you're practicing with that, you're going to sound much more like your live. Plus, when we recorded the album, we recorded it as a band. 3 of us standing in the studio in a circle. We played it just like we would play it on stage, and we had the sound engineer recording us. So it's like a cross. It's kind of like a live recording because all the instrumentals are played together. Yeah. But then we went back and did some overdubs.
Okay.
To fix a few little minor things. And of course, I went up there and on the first track that we produced with Thomas, we just pretty much kept all the vocals. But on the rest of the album, once we got past the first few songs, we went back to record the rest of the album. I recorded most of those in his home studio as far as the vocals. And I did all the main vocals and then all the different harmony vocals. I sang on separate tracks. So on that album, I'm the only vocalist. I did all the harmonies.
See, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because like you could tell, like especially when there's some things there where they're married, it's like it's a really cool sound.
Yeah, and it's funny working with Thomas up there recording. He's like, he told me it was really nice working with me because my vocals are almost like 99% the same every time I sing them. So I can sing the same vocal, and then I go back to sing the harmony vocal, and they're like tracked like.
That's a unique talent.
It's crazy to me because I haven't been doing it for very long. But a little shout out to Elizabeth Eck here in town, Red Letter Vocal Studios, because when I decided to really take it serious after I started the karaoke thing, I signed up with her and I spent probably a good year going like once a week and getting her to help me really dial in my vocal technique. And I still work with her from time to time. In fact, I actually have an appointment with her this week.
That's awesome.
A little brush up. So yeah.
And do you find it hard sometimes, like when you're on? So I shouldn't say hard. So How important is the vibe of the audience in determining what you play?
Oh, huge, huge. If we're playing a 3-hour show or something like that, or I'm trying to get away from those. I'm trying to get them down to 1 or 2 hour shows. But if the crowd's not, if I'm not quite connecting with them, a lot of times I'll try to figure out like what I think they might want to listen to. And so my first go to is to kind of cut out some of the slower stuff and just go right to some of our more hard hitting, faster songs and see if we can connect that way. Um, it doesn't always work, and sometimes we've played to almost an empty room before,
Yeah.
and I can tell you one of the most difficult things, but I think again that's one of those rites of passage is you have to play to an empty room the same as you would if it was full.
Yeah.
And that's difficult. That's super difficult. I can't say that I've always worked it out that way, but if the room's pretty empty, then we just have a fun kind of a paid rehearsal. It's just the life of an independent artist getting started. You're not gonna instantly start being playing stadiums or playing 500 person venues and stuff like that. So I think there's you have to work yourself up,
Yeah.
and it's yeah.
And I've seen an example of that. I'm not going to name the band, um, but it doesn't really matter. They had two concerts, one right after another, Saturday and a Sunday, and everybody that I knew that was so into the band, they all came out on Saturday, and so none of the people that were there on Saturday were there on Sunday, and so I got to see the show on Sunday, and the show on Sunday was just as freaking phenomenal as the show on Saturday.
Well, and that shows you that is a professional band,
Yeah.
because I think some bands that don't have as many live shows, like all the people I follow, they like, you got to get your first 100 live shows under your belt. And there's a reason for that, because by the time you played 100 live shows, you've worked out a lot of the stupid stuff that independent artists go through. And I'm still working myself. I haven't played 100 live shows yet. I'm working on that. So, but we're having really good response, and we keep getting invited back to everywhere we go. We had a few notable shows in the last couple years. I could talk about a couple of them. Like, we played back-to-back nights at the Wild Horse Resort and Casino out in Pendleton, which was great. We played on, I
How's
think
the venue there?
it's good. They've got basically a plug-in crowd, because they have
that's
live
nice.
music.
Yeah.
So you play on their stage. They have their own sound system. They have their own sound guys. We had like 2 guys in the sound booth running our sound, and I think the venue probably holds, I don't know.
A couple hundred, I think.
It's at
right?
least 200, but I
Yeah.
think it's somewhere between 200 and 300 people. And both nights were great. And the last night, they had the Pendleton.
Oh, the penalty whiskey to go along with the.
Well, they had like the Pendleton Whiskey Fest going on.
Yeah.
And we had a bunch of people come over to the Pendleton Whiskey Fest, and they're like, we love you guys. This is great. You guys have a vibe. And so, like, on our last set of the night there, I looked at the guys and like, we're just going off script. We're not playing anything but upbeat bangers for this last hour.
Yeah.
And then when we got done, very first time I've ever had this happen, because, we're independent, but we were like, all right, that's all we got. And we had people in the crowd that were like, one more song.
Oh, that's
And so,
awesome.
so we got to play our very first encore, and I was like,
Yes. That is awesome.
yeah. So we did that there. We played a 200 person venue up in northern Washington at this winery up there, Bertelsen Winery, and those owners were amazing, and they paid us above what we booked them for, so that feels great. And then probably the one that I'm most proud of, and the one that's most near and dear to me, is last year I met Joey James, who's a lot of folks around here, and probably folks that are going to listen to the podcast know him. And we met, I think it was August or September of last year, online. I reached out to him because I saw he's a Nashville singer-songwriter and that he was originally from here. And I didn't know him personally, but we had a lot of friends in common. So I reached out to him, we started chatting, and then he came back to town, and he's like, hey, I want to do this veterans Salute to Veterans Show. And he's like, I've already got the artists. He's got, Daryl Worley, William Michael Morgan, and then he's going to be opening for them. And I'm like, I want to do anything I can to help make this happen.
Yeah.
Right? So we spent weeks traveling around trying to get sponsorships to go. And, I think it was a couple weeks in, he's like, he'd heard my music and he heard me play. He's like, hey, like, I want you to play during this thing. I'm like, awesome. Cause like, we've never had an opportunity like that, to share the same stage with some like big Nashville headline acts. Like, that was a dream come true. And, we may not have had the turnout we would have liked, but I think we probably had somewhere between 500 and 600 people show up. And so getting on a big stage and playing several, we played one cover, but playing 3 original songs and a cover to that crowd and having the reaction the way that they did was just amazing. Getting to meet William, amazing guy, Daryl Worley, he's awesome. And then, just having all that community support, and that was all about my current mission, which is all about raising money and raising awareness for veterans with mental health and other issues. And that wasn't specifically about mental health, but, we were raising money, I think it was for vet care. And we had some great sponsors there. And we had the PVA was there, which I'm now a volunteer, and I helped them out with some of their events. And, so yeah, it's been a wild, crazy ride, and it's nowhere close to being done, and yeah, I just love it.
Yeah, the PVA is one of those amazing organizations.
Yeah, right here.
Because like when I first filed my claim, they only did like 20%, and then the PVA got involved.
Yeah,
and that's what turned it over to 80. It's direct response of just the PVA coming in to help.
Yeah.
Because like the hardest thing I think for soldiers to endure is when you have. I remember being in peak physical form. Nothing could stop me. I was running, I was everything, and then that day that back injury came and it robs you of that ability. It shifts your outlook on life in a negative way that I can't even fully describe. And it wasn't until you start talking to other veterans going through that same experience where you feel like you're not alone. Because I don't know about you in your time in the Navy, but in the Army, the minute you're injured, you're labeled as a broke dick. And you're ostracized, you're sort of pushed to the side, you're made fun of because you got injured. And there's this culture at the time in the military, in the Army and specifically, where if you were injured, you were really looked down upon, and it carried over from when you got out because there was no transition services, there's no help in all that regard. So now, not only have you been ostracized for the last 6 months because of your disability, now you're at home and you're not with any of your buddies, and whoo, is that a lonely feeling? That's a lonely feeling.
Yeah. No, it's the same. It's the same in the Navy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw a lot of that happen on active duty where people would have real issues, and you know how it is. It's like you go on. We joke around a little bit on active duty, but you got to remember, like, these are real things. So people would call it like, light limited duty, and some people would be like, oh yeah, lame duty or whatever like that, because there's definitely a perception, especially because people get so hardcore. And there's this perception out there sometimes that, like, people are faking it. And, yeah, there's some of that, but that's not the majority. The majority of the time, people have real issues that they're dealing with and real medical issues. And the military can take so long, so many med boards and so many different things to actually process somebody either out or to get them the actual help they need to be able to stay in. And in the meantime, you've got these divisions or these units that are going, well, we got this person here that's filling this billet that we can't use because they're broke. And unfortunately, the military doesn't do a good job of backfilling those positions to make sure that it's being
100%.
done. Like, it's a nightmare. The military is such a massive corporate type of bureaucracy. People who haven't done it don't even understand. Like the Navy alone has, I think it was like around 396,000 members.
Yeah.
So if you put that in terms of like a company, that'd be like in the Fortune 100, like top companies, the big corporations with tons of people. You're literally just a number. Maybe not to your local command. People know you and you've got a reputation, but in the big scope of things,
You're just a number.
you're just a number. So, and you might get some special preferential treatment with your local folks, but when you get out there into the big, VA and all that stuff, it's a nightmare.
And it's also interesting to me because like when I served, there's a necessity to it as well
Yeah.
that a lot of people don't like to talk about. Because if you don't have that ability to run, you don't have the ability to do push-ups and all that stuff, you can't be combat effective.
True.
And if you're not combat effective, it really, you can't. It's nothing you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and unfortunately, the military does have some flaws, and I think one of those flaws is there are more people that have more different gifts than just being a hoorah, gung ho, let me get out into the field. We've got people who are gifted at like electronic warfare, for example, or any number of things that don't necessarily need to be battle ready to go out in the field. What they need is to make sure that their brain's juiced up enough to get them through, some long shifts when they're breaking codes and doing various things. So I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I definitely have always seen that. And I understand the flip side of that, really. The flip side of that is the military has a job to do, and they also want to make sure that when people are wearing that uniform that they look the part. So
Yeah.
there has to be some sort of physical standards, but I think there's probably a happy place somewhere in there between everybody needs to look like a GQ model versus something a little bit more in the realm of norm. And maybe certain positions need to, like if you're going to be a Navy SEAL, for example,
Yeah.
you're not going to cut it by just getting the minimum score on your PRT.
No.
To be in the SEALs, you are going to be that top 1%, right? But not everybody needs to be a top 1%er, right? So, yeah, there's all that.
Yeah, because like I know we lost a few mechanics along the way because they couldn't pass a PT test.
Yeah.
But they were really good mechanics. And it's like, oh man.
And I worked in I'm a electronics technician in the Navy. I retired as a senior chief, and I got my engineering degree. And I've worked with a lot of super, super brilliant, talented ETs and IT folks. But you know what? I've met several IT folks that I would hire in a minute in the civilian side, but could not pass a PRT and got kicked out of the Navy for it.
Yep. I knew a few mechanics like that.
Yeah. Some of the most brilliant minds, but they could not get that, physical readiness test done. So.
And I see both sides, right?
Yeah.
Because the reality is the military saved my life. Like before the military, like I didn't have that structure. Like I grew up kind of feral, if you will, so I didn't have any discipline or really any of those things that would make you successful in sort of the career realm.
Yeah.
And I can directly attribute my success today to everything that I learned in the military.
Yeah.
Because I learned how to get along with everybody. I learned how to love your brother, and regardless of their religion, regardless of their race, it doesn't matter. I have your back, you have mine. We're in the trenches together.
Yeah, for real.
And that was a huge eye opener for me, because I came from a small town in Snohomish, Washington, right, where it's like that isn't something that's a thing just because we didn't have a lot of diversity in our school. We didn't have a lot of diversity all around, and so. Getting to that point and learning what I learned and having that experience, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like you, I also grew up small town. So, yeah. I was a Navy brat, and I lived on the East Coast until I was 6. We were living in South Carolina when we finally moved here to be close to my grandparents, who had a restaurant in South Beach. And so we lived in a single wide trailer behind the restaurant. And I started my first grade when I was there. So, and I went from first all the way until I graduated at Newport High School here on the coast.
Okay.
And but then we moved to Siletz when I was 8. So I moved in. We lived in a little town of about 1,000 people with a reservation there. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. I grew up on the river. There's a song that I wrote that's on that first album called. Oh my Lord. There goes the ADHD again.
Yeah.
It's called When Life Was Simple. It's called When Life Was Simple, and the lyrics on that, it's all about growing up. Pretty much growing up in the trailer park, spending all my days on the river, fishing, swimming, and riding my dirt bike through the trailer park and busting my knees up, and kind of how I sometimes still today, like, go back and I think about that stuff. It's like, gosh, those were so much simpler times,
Yeah.
back then, when all I had to worry about was making sure that I was home before the street lights came on. I mean, that was, we didn't even lock our doors back in those days, and
Same.
us kids, we were like a pack of feral dogs on our bikes. There's like 6 or 7 of us that were just up and down that trailer park, out to the river, getting in trouble. I didn't do it on purpose, but me and my friends were playing with matches and burned down a walnut orchard
in
Weaver's trailer park. And I got my ass busted, and then we all had to go down there and walk up and tell Mr. Weaver that we were really sorry that we burned his orchard. It came back. All the grass is mainly what burned, but yeah, I think he thought we probably got disciplined plenty, so he kind of let us off. So, but yeah, I think I was all of like 9 or 10 when all that went down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, my mom died when I was 10, and my dad was left to raise us by himself, but he worked like 6-7 days a week.
Yeah.
And so we just did not have any parental supervision for the longest time. And you don't get into good stuff when you're without parental supervision in a house full of boys.
No, and and like you, we grew up without cell phones. I mean, like, we played outside. We played with rocks and sticks, and like we had full-on fights with blackberries, and then we had fights cross-field with like crab apples, where we'd stick them on those big whip antennas.
Yeah.
And then fling them like 300 yards.
I love
smacking each other. Yeah. And that we had a big ass hill that we went down all the time. We'd tile the inner tubes together, and then get inside and then roll down.
Oh, that's dizzy.
Oh yeah. But I mean, like, I spent the summers, I always had my knees were always bandaged because I was constantly wrecking my bike. We'd make ramps, we'd make all kinds of stuff out there to jump. We'd jump kids, have them lay down. I mean, like, people nowadays, like, they'd freak out.
Yeah, you'd probably get these child protective services called on you for sure.
My parents were awesome. They're just like, be home before the lights come on, Yeah, it's great. Different times.
So what's coming up for you?
So we got a couple things coming up. One of the big ones for us is coming up, so I'm going to do a little plug. Center 50 Plus is putting on the Boot Scoot and Brew September 6th. Starts, I think the first band goes on somewhere around 10:45 or 11 a.m. And then they're going to have bands all the way till, I think, 10 p.m. that night.
Okay.
And
in Salem?
It's in Salem. It's down in Riverfront Park, September 6th. It's an all-day event. I think it's $5 to get in, and I think it's free for kids under a certain age. I don't remember off the top of my head right at this moment. I should have it in front of me, but it's going to be a fun day. And my band and I are playing that day from 3:30 to 4:30 down there in Riverfront Park, and we would love it to have as many people as possible to come out there and come out and see us and come out and see all the other amazing talent. There's a pretty nice lineup of bands out there. I know Roundhouse Band, Beth Eck, my vocal coach. She's there. Her band's playing. We got Jerry Kilgore, Rock and Roll Cowboys are playing at the end of the night.
Okay.
Those guys are awesome. So, and I'm not meaning to leave people out. I just can't remember off the top of my head. There's about 8 or 10 bands playing. So,
And that's the Boot Scoot.
Boot Scoot and Brew, Riverfront Park, Salem Riverfront Park. We're going to be playing on that big, beautiful stage that they put out there a few years back. And that was actually a bucket list venue that I finally get to check off this year. 4 years in.
And they sound so good. They actually put a lot of effort into making it sound real good.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to that one. And I've already talked with the sound engineer that's running that, so I think we're going to be all set.
Well, we've been at this for well over an hour.
Yeah.
So, Jeremy, thank you. Where can people go to find more information? About the band?
Let's see. I'm across all social media, but if you wanted to find me online right now, you can go to jwmwhiskeybound.com. That's our combined band website. All the music is available there for download. Also, when you open that up, it's got links to all of my social media. So if you go to that website, you can click on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. We've got all those channels up. So, and I would love to hear from you. So if you do get on one of those, leave a comment, reach out. I love connecting with everybody.
And I'll close the show like I always close the show. Be kind, you all. We share the same air. We share the same space. And if you just treat people with kindness, this world will be a better place.
Absolutely. And Sean, thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.